I've completed a few more details on my helicopter. I've added the windows, colored them in, completed some fine tuning on the shapes around the helicopter. So the next thing I would like to do is highlight the curves that you're going to see on the engine and also add some reflective glow and some shadows to the rounded surfaces. And this will make our image look a little more three-dimensional. So here's my part of the engine. And this is supposed to be a tubular-like structure. So I'm going to draw some lines on here and curve them. And there's two ways we can do that. And I'll show you both methods and let you decide which one you think is better. So the first one I'm going to do is simply take my Bezier tool, and I'll just draw a line from top to bottom. And I'm going to go in and change the quality of that line, make it a little bit thicker. So Object, Fill and Stroke. And I'm going to choose the stroke paint and the stroke style, and I'm going to make it just a little bit thicker until I get something that works for me. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. So I'll close that so I can see my full image. So what I'm going to do with that now is simply add another node and then curve it. So again, because it's a line, I don't need to curve it to a path. Let me zoom in on this so I can get a good look at it. So here's my line. I want to straighten it out a little bit there because it doesn't look particularly straight. Let's draw that again. There we go. And I'm going to now add another node to it. So there's my new node, and I'll stretch it just a little bit, and I want to make that a curved path. So let's stretch those handles out. And there we now have a line that looks like a curved line, and that's going to give it the appearance of that being a curved shape. So instead of doing that a whole bunch of times, I'm simply going to duplicate. So I can choose Edit, Duplicate, and I will just make more versions. So they have one there, and then they have two together near the back. Edit, Duplicate. And there are key shortcuts for all of these things I'm doing. My key shortcuts may be different than yours because I am working on a Mac. You may be working on a PC. But when you do choose a feature, it shows you the key shortcut right here beside it. So for me, it is Command D. So I will use Command D this time. Oh, I moved the wrong object. There we go. Command D. I created a duplicate, and I will move it off. So there I've created the curved lines on the engine that look like part of the engine. Well, I think I moved that one by mistake too. I'll move it back into place. There we go. So now I'm happy with that piece. So the last thing I want to show you here before I cut you loose and let you finish up the helicopter on your own is how to add these glowing reflections at the top and how to add some shadows at the bottom. So I'm going to start that by drawing a rectangle. So I'm going to draw it all the way into this shape right here. I want it to match that as closely as I can. And if it doesn't match perfectly, it's not a big deal because I can just go in and adjust these circles to make it look pretty darn good. So there is my shape. Now I want to go back in under Object, Fill, and Stroke. And I want to turn the fill to a solid whitish color, certainly lighter than the color that's on my helicopter right now. And I want to turn my stroke paint right off. So there we go. I'm going to close that so I can see what I'm doing here. There we go. So there is my reflection. Now I'm going to use my keys just to move that up, and I can stretch it over just a little bit to get it to fit as nicely as I can in that shape. I'm going to make it a little bit wider, and here's where the trick comes in. I'm now going to apply a gradient to this. So I click on my gradient tool and I drag from top to bottom. And you can see how that looks like a nice smooth gradient, brighter on top, less bright on the bottom, and it looks like a reflection. Now I can move it backwards so that these lines are below it. So again, page up and page down will work for you, but I'm simply going to raise these lines so they are back on top. So it looks like they are not hidden behind the glow. So when I do each one of these, I'm then going to duplicate that same glow, and I'm going to use it as part of my shadow. So I've got the glow at the top. Now, I'm going to repeat this glow process on all of the surfaces I want to look shiny, reflecting from the sun, as you see in the tutorial. But then when I do the shaded areas down beneath, what I'm going to do is duplicate that same glow. And that is under, where was that? Under Edit, Duplicate. And I'm going to just take the top arrow here and just slide it right down. And notice what it's going to do. It's just going to flip that shape right upside down. But now, instead of it being a shape where I want the glow, I'm going to double click on it. Click on this bottom part, and I'm going to make that a darker color. There we go. Now see how that makes it look like I've got shadow underneath. And that's exactly what I'm looking to have happen there. So as I add the shadows underneath, and this one looks like it's giving me a little bit of extra space there, so I need to pull it out. As I add the shadows now, I've got lighter on top and darker on bottom. And here again, I'm going to lower. I have to lower it 4 times to get it to go below all those black lines. There we go. So there is now my tank. Because it is a rounded shape, I have the rounded lines on it, and I have the glow at the top and the shadow at the bottom. So you can go ahead and take some cues from the instructions there and put glow on whatever parts you want to, and then you can add shadows on whatever parts you want to, and then you're going to be left with this. And then obviously at the end there's a few more little details in terms of the gun and the wheel. Those are easy enough to draw in. And then it's time for a background. And this background is simply one big blue box with a gradient on it. And then they squiggled another shape on here and put a gradient on it. And it looks like they've squiggled another shape in the background and put a gradient on it too. So at this point in time, I think you have all the skills to finish this up. I'm going to zoom out and show you what we have. And again, I've only put the detail on that one piece, but you can add detail to all of the other pieces and components of your helicopter. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Good luck with it. If you have any questions, let me know.